Okay, so at this point you should be completely done with the top half of your rack. I just got done welding on the work light gussets. If you had work lights, that should be done, and your top half should be totally complete. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build our bed rails, and refer to your blueprint, the section titled Bed Rail Build and Cut Diagram. And you're going to need 4 total pieces. So I have here my 2-piece A's, which are going to be, depending on if you're building it for Ford or Dodge, they're going to be slightly different widths. But I'm building the Dodge, so I have the 3-inch pieces of flat bar here, 3 by 3/16. And also you're going to need your B pieces, which are 2 by 3/16 flat bar, and they should have 4 holes in each of them. So refer to your diagrams for measurements on both of these, as well as hole spacing. These are 1/4-inch holes, but it's going to be totally clear in the diagram. So go ahead and pause the video, get your pieces cut out, your holes drilled, and then go ahead and come back and I'll show you how to put those together. Alright, so you should now have all 4 of your pieces cut out for your bed rails. Refer to your diagram again, as there's going to be some differences between the Ford and Dodge models. So I'm cutting out a Dodge rack. So here I got my piece A, which is 3 by 3/16 flat bar, and then also my piece B that is 2 by 3/16 thick flat bar, and this has 4 holes that should be drilled into it. And again, refer to your blueprint for the measurement of those holes. These are 1/4-inch holes, but you should have 2 of each of the A and B pieces. And the next thing we're going to do is weld these together at a 90-degree angle. So as you can see here, I have one that is already set up to be welded. So the easiest way to do this is, as you can see here, if you don't have a table that's open like this, if you just have a closed, one-piece table that you can't clamp in the inside, you have to do it around the outside, that's fine. So let's pretend that this is the edge of your table if you don't have an open table. You're going to clamp this B piece down here so that it is flush with the top of your table. So I'll actually just take these off to show you. So your B piece should be flush with the top of the table, and as you can see, I have it clamped here. And then the next thing you're going to do is clamp, or if you don't have enough clamps, you can also tack weld this. Is you're going to clamp or tack weld your A piece on top of this. So one side of your A and B pieces should be flush, and then there should be, on this Dodge rack, it's a 3-inch difference between the end of the A piece and the end of the B piece here. If you're doing a Ford, it's going to be 2 inches. Like I said, I'm doing a Dodge, so your blueprint will also lay that out clearly. So the way I'm clamping this is so that the pieces are corner to corner. So you're not going to want them flat on top of each other like this. So as you can see, the edge of this A piece is flush with the side of this B piece. You're going to want them corner to corner so that there is a nice seam right here that you can fill with bead for great penetration, and also it's going to look better once you grind off your weld if you choose to do that. So I'm going to clamp this piece, and again, if you don't have clamps, you can tack weld this. Flush with this end, you got a nice seam here. I'm going to clamp this, and also this side. Just make sure it's nice and true. So this should be a 90-degree gap, the length of your piece, both pieces of flat bar. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tack this in approximately 5 positions. The reason you want multiple tacks is when we actually go to solid weld this, it's going to heat up these pieces of metal, and it could make them expand, and your gap will get bigger. And so tacking it multiple times just keeps this nice and true when you go to actually weld the entire thing. So I'm going to grab my helmet and then tack weld this up. So now we're going to repeat the process for the other side. When you do this, it's extremely important that these pieces are not identical. They're actually opposite of each other. So it's best to do it on an opposite surface like I have here, so that you can visualize how it's actually going to go on to your pickup bed rails. So I'm going to go ahead and clamp this on. So again, this should be flush with the top of your table. Then we're going to go ahead and move this so it's corner to corner again. You got your nice seam here that you can weld your bead into. Just clamp it so the corner to corner matches up nicely. And just to clarify on that, so here you got a close-up of your corner to corner weld. See how my tack welds fill this seam nicely? So this is what you're going for as far as the connection goes. They aren't stacked on top of each other, so you got this nice corner seam to fill. So over here, I'm just doing that on this side the same way. Five tack welds on this side as well. And notice on here, I got my discrepancies between the lengths of the A and B pieces on the same end. And that ensures that you have two opposite matching pieces. These are going to go on the bed rails of your pickup. So just make sure everything is the same. You don't want the discrepancy of your end down here, as then these two will only fit on one side. So just make sure everything's opposite and identical. And then I'm going to go ahead and tack weld this. Okay, so now I got my two opposite pieces. Both of them are tack welded together. I would recommend leaving, when you go to solid weld one of these together, I'm going to solid weld this one first, leaving it clamped or tack welded or whatever, because that's going to ensure that these two pieces of metal stay at 90 degrees and don't warp and bend because of the heat. So whatever one you're doing the full weld on, make sure it's clamped down nicely. I'm going to go ahead and fill this one, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, once you have this side filled, go ahead and move all your clamps, tack down your other side, whatever, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. So once you got your two bed rails welded up solid, I would let them cool for a second just so they don't cool and get out of a 90-degree angle. But up to you if you want to grind these welds off into a nice radius. I usually do, but if you don't want to, if you made a super beautiful bead and want to leave it, totally fine. But I'm going to go ahead and grind these off into a nice rounded edge, and after that, we'll be able to move on to the next step.